Coming up on First at 4, new video shows the moments when a Louisville police officer was shot in the line of duty weeks ago. And General Motors and Stellantis announced layoffs as the United Auto Workers strike continues.
And the forecast may look cloudy here in downtown Whitesburg, but there is no rain in the forecast potentially for days. I'll have the latest. Mountain News First at 4 is on the air.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, newly released body cam video shows a Louisville police officer as he is shot in the line of duty earlier this month. Now, we want to warn you, the footage may be disturbing to watch. It shows the officer coming under fire during a traffic stop in a Louisville neighborhood and his rescue by a fellow officer. CBS's Errol Barnett has more.
This newly released body camera footage shows Louisville police officer Brandon Haley approaching a white car stopped on a sidewalk. Police say the two men inside then fled. This video from Haley's cruiser, which has been slowed down, shows he is immediately met with a barrage of gunfire coming from a nearby house. Sparks on the sidewalk appear to show bullets ricocheting around him as he fires back. Haley was struck at least once, but managed to seek safety in a yard across the street.
Give me EMS! Give me EMS! Officer down!
Moments later, another officer, Colin Bellotto, reaches Haley.
Where you hit?
He too is then met by shots and drags Haley partly on his knees to seek cover before returning fire.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
After pulling Haley for almost a block, Officer Bellotto begins to treat him. More officers arrive on the scene,
Get in the car.
where they lifted Haley into the backseat of an unmarked police car to bring him to a hospital. That's where he continues to recover. After an hours-long standoff that night with a SWAT team, 5 suspects were taken into custody on various charges, not related, though, to the shooting.
You can see the chaos at that scene and how proud we are of their actions that night in their efforts to keep Louisville safe.
You okay?
Errol Barnett, CBS News.
Funeral arrangements have been announced for former Kentucky Governor Brereton Jones. Jones will lie in state in the Kentucky Capitol on Monday. Visitation for Jones will be from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. on Monday. The family will receive visitors from 3 p.m. until 7 Monday. A funeral will be held at 10 a.m. on Tuesday at Forks of the Elkhorn Baptist Church in Midway. A private burial will follow. A Kentucky National Guard armory has a new name. Folks gathered today to unveil the new First Sergeant Otis Capps Kentucky National Guard Armory in Harlan. Capps served in the National Guard for 30 years. Executive Director of the Department of Military Services, Charles T. Jones, says Capps served as a role model for many.
Through that First Sergeant Otis Capps, all the young men that he touched in this community and life, it's just an honor to recognize him, to recognize the sacrifices of the family, and to recognize the honor and the patriotism of just this community alone.
Jones says it's important to keep his name alive for future generations to see. We'll have more on the legacy Capps leaves behind and why this event was so special later on tonight.
Greetings from beautiful downtown Whitesburg. We are here at the Mountain Heritage Festival and again back in action after being canceled due to last year's flood. And Chandler's going to talk more about that here in a minute. But it looks overcast. You think, is it going to rain? No. But the overcast skies are helpful because it's blocking out the sun, which is still a little bit warm at times out there. Let's take a look downtown Whitesburg. Listen, I'm going to try to wave and see if you can see me. Me and Chandler are right here. So there you go. We're on the Whitesburg camera on the side of MCHC right there. We're right here in Festival Village at the end of it, and we're having a great time. It's 68 here, and we're actually, it might have been a little bit warmer than I missed that temperature there, but it's pretty comfortable across most of the region. It feels a little bit humid though. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s right now. It looks like it's a little cooler over in Wise in Southwest Virginia. It usually is. And then you got some 80s back up toward Moorhead, down toward Somerset, and out toward Monticello. Now, not much going on, even though it's overcast. There's some blue in front of me. There's all kinds of stuff going on, but there is no rain here, and there's not expected to be any rain here. We'll talk more about that in the forecast. First alert weather app forecast. It's going to be a great night to come on out here. Midlife Crisis is going to be performing a little bit later on tonight. The food booths are open. The craft tents and vendors are open. Come on down here. It's going to be a nice night to be out here. I have more on that forecast coming up here in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Brandon, thank you very much. Both General Motors and Stellantis have announced layoffs as UAW members continue to walk the picket lines at 3 facilities. GM laid off about 2,000 workers at its Fairfax assembly plant in Kansas, while Stellantis laid off 68 employees at a plant in Ohio and will likely lay off an estimated 300 other workers at factories in Indiana. CBS financial expert Jill Schlesinger says the buildup to all this began almost 4 years ago.
So first we were worried about automakers surviving. Then there was a surge of people who wanted cars. And when you look back to the last contract in 2019, don't forget, they negotiated that contract when it was 2% inflation. Now, both the automakers and the union members know inflation, prices, they're up by 20% from 2019.
If there is not serious progress made in negotiations before noon Friday, UAW President Shawn Fain said more workers will be called on to strike. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is visiting Washington to appeal for additional help from the United States in pushing back against Russian forces. It's been nearly 19 months since Russia's full-scale invasion began in February 2022. Some lawmakers say Zelensky had very strong dialogue with senators today, updating them on the situation. Senator Mitch McConnell delivered remarks on the Senate floor about it.
American support for Ukraine is not charity. It's an investment in our own direct interests, not least because degrading Russia's military power helps to deter our primary strategic adversary.
The Biden administration has asked Congress to approve $24 billion in additional aid for Ukraine. There is still significant opposition to that among some Republicans. In Ukraine, the Minister of Internal Affairs says explosions were heard across his country before dawn today. Ukraine's government leaders urged their people to follow safety rules in the regions where repeated alarms blared. Ukraine Air Force officials say missile threats remain in the region. Ukraine's government officials say the impact of the overnight attacks have been widespread. One missile strike destroyed a hotel building. Coming up on First at 4, we'll take you back live to downtown Whitesburg, where the Mountain Heritage Festival is well underway.
And like he said, we're right here live downtown Whitesburg, and of course we've got a forecast as we head toward the final days of summer. Actually, the final day tomorrow. That's going to be interesting as we head in the weekend. We'll talk about it coming up in a few minutes.